Hi guys, how are you doing? I'm Jamie and welcome to the Cult of Cantona. I'm going to be going through a little mini review of today's game against Brighton, 3-1 loss at home, and I'm going to give our player ratings. So I suppose let's start with the first half. Um, there, there isn't an awful lot to say. 5 minutes in, conceded, played okay-ish, but for a team that are struggling. And then we got a penalty, and Bruno scored it. That was pretty much our first half, on the back foot a lot. The defense is really getting exposed. And it's just one of the things I think we're going to have to ride out until we actually do bring in some players who can play in those positions and get rid of the one that can't. The one thing about Amarim's his formation that he uses and he's sticking with stubbornly is it exposes the weaknesses of the players that are in those positions, and they're either going to get stronger and train and get better, or they're going to have to go and be replaced. Second half, I thought United played okay, considering, until we went 2-1 down. Mitoma's goal was a good one. Mazarawi got levelled off the upright in the process, but after that, our heads just dropped, and we just weren't in the game. Really, it seemed. And then Onana had a howler, and he conceded a terrible goal. He spilled the ball. The ball was coming to the box, and he went to jump on it, essentially pounce on it, and the ball spilled out. And I think it was Rutter or someone who scored the goal for them. So it's 3-1, finished 3-1. There was no one really that was covered in glory today. Ahmed was a shining light amongst just rubbish, really. I know Fernandez got his goal from the penalty, but no one really, maybe between himself and Ahmed, they're the only ones really trying, it seemed. Not great. We had more shots than them with 10, but 1 on target, which is ridiculous. It's poor. It's the Championship side versus a Premier League side. With those conditions, how are you not getting forward at home against Brighton and at least getting more shots on target, if not goals? Fortunately, though, Danny Welbeck didn't get his inaugural goal every time he plays at Old Trafford. Other than that, there's not much to say about the game. We lost 3-1, deserved to lose, weren't great. After that brilliant double save against Southampton, which covered Onana in absolute glory and had me eating my words, because I'm a real, I really go down. I really down Onana. I just don't think he's a great goalkeeper. Certainly not the standard we need. So I was singing his praises after the Southampton game. I thought he had a really good game, but today he just wasn't at it, and you conceded 3 goals, but really conceded 4, but one disallowed by VAR for a foul on Dello in the process. But he's just not. You can't spill balls like that in the Premier League and expect to win games or do well. You're 2-1 down at that point as well, so conceding that goal just wasn't great. But saying that, no one else really covers themselves in glory. But yeah, we had slightly more possession. We had the same amount of passes, same amount of pass accuracy. We weren't at it. 3 yellow cards each. It was very even on the stats, except for the shots on target. Then we'll get into the ratings. I just have so little to say about the game. It was such a disappointment. I can't understand how Man United can go out against Liverpool and Arsenal, the big teams that are going for the Premier League and fighting over it, and then putting in good performances, really solid performances all over the pitch, and then it comes down to playing the Southamptons and the Brightons of the world, and you can't put in performance or do anything really. Yeah, I don't think it's Amarim at this point. I think it's the players. Before the Liverpool game, I was absolutely adamant Amarim is a problem here. He's too stubborn with formation, needs to change, but I think it is just the players. They can play, they show they can play well in that formation in those roles that they are put in, week out, and they can perform. But it seems they're choosing not to. But yeah, look, I digress to my ratings. So I have them over here. So Onana, absolute howler, had a terrible day in net. So going with 4 out of 10 for him. Mazraoui, he was in the game and he wasn't. Let's say got leveled off the upright. I'm going to give him a 5.5 out of 10. Euro was better than he was. Was he better? I don't know. He seemed better than he was again. He wasn't getting found out so often, but the whole defence was easily they just cut through as like a hot knife through butter on many occasions. But he was better than he was, I think, against Southampton. So we go with 6 for him. We get down to Harry Maguire. I thought Harry Maguire had a really shaky start to the game. He just seemed like he was nervous or something. Filled me with nerves. But I'll also give him a 6. He wasn't fantastic, but wasn't terrible. But De Ligt, then I like De Ligt. I think he tries to cover a lot for the rest of them. I think if he got better players beside him, he'd do better. But he's always trying to cover them. I quite like him. I'm giving him a 6.5 just to differentiate because they did concede 3 goals in the end. Dalot, really like Dalot. Always running, always looking to do something. Just couldn't really affect the game in the way that we needed him to today. So we're going to go with a 7, bit higher than I suppose he may have deserved, but I think he was positive. And that's why I'm going to give him a 7 rather than a 6. Ugarte. So Ugarte is one of them. In some games, he shines and shows us why we bought him, and in others, he doesn't. This one, he was okay. Wasn't terrible, wasn't great. So we're going to have 6.5 for him. Mainu, what's going on with Mainu? He was fabulous last season, and then he's seeing so hit and miss, hot and cold this season. Going to go with a 5 for him. Improvements are needed. Maybe he's just struggling at the moment for some reason, but we all know he has the qualities and the ability to go forward and do what we need to do to shine in this Man United team, because he is a player for the future for sure. When he's putting in the effort. Amad Diallo, excellent. He got back, he recovered, he defended as well as going to, as attacking, as well as being a threat going forward. Defensively, he got back and did the work, which is really impressive considering he's really a right winger or a right midfielder. When you look at someone like a Garnacho or a Rashford, for instance, or even an Anthony, they don't like coming back from their winger position, or even when they're playing in those positions, they don't like getting back. I know Garnacho's getting a bit better recently, but they just don't. And he has the work ethic. So I'm going to go with 7.5 for Diallo. Okay, so Bruno. I thought Bruno was okay today. He affected the game in positive ways, but I just don't think that he had well around him the players that could do so, could do the same besides Diallo. So we are going to go with a 7.5 for him as well. I like Xerxes. He's up next. I think he's doing really well. Since he got booed off the pitch by his own players coming off him, it was 35 minutes against Liverpool. He's come on leaps and bounds. He's taken that and he's used it for fuel, it seems, to just get better. He's put his head down, he's doing his work, and I really appreciate that. I love to see it from players. They get knocked down, but they get up again. And they're stronger then after that than they were beforehand. I'm going to give him a 7. So let's get on to the subs. I suppose Anthony and Rasmus, they didn't really do anything, really. They weren't on the pitch long enough, really, to affect the game properly. It's probably Anthony's last game. He's linked with a move to Real Betis. So Anthony is going to get just 5, and so is Rasmus. They didn't do much to affect the game, if they even deserve a rating at all. Garnacho, positive, ran a lot, but then again, didn't change the game in any real way to benefit United. I'm going to go with a 6, and then we've got Toby Collier. Again, wasn't on the pitch long enough to really do an awful lot, but when he was on the pitch, he didn't do anything that affected the game positively for United. So I'm going to go 5.5. And that's everyone that played today. Overall, we need to get better. I believe our next game is against Fulham on Sunday in the Premier League, and we desperately need to win there. They're above us in the league. I think it's away as well. We do need to go away and start getting some wins. We need to put some win. We need to not just win, but we need to start a chain of wins. We need to, get like 5-6 wins in a row and build on something. I think Diallo is a player we need to build around and going forward, because he seems to be the shining light out of all of them. Some players do need to move on, such as Anthony, and we can only get better from there, but we need to start getting some wins on the board and then consecutively do so week in, week out. I suppose if we could do anything besides lose, and we don't mind a bad performance as long as there's something at the end of it, a few points at the end of it, or a progression in a tournament at the end of it. But unless it's a big team playing against, it doesn't seem like most of these players want to do anything. But anyway, they're all my ratings and my opinion on the game and my little mini review. I've probably missed out loads, and because I'm just frustrated watching them and seeing how bad they are week in, week out, when they can play well. So, follow us on socials at the Cult of Cantona. Subscribe to the YouTube channel at the same at Cult of Cantona. Or then you can support us on buymeacoffee.com/Cult of Cantona, and follow us on Spotify for the podcast as well. The Buy Me a Coffee link really does support the channel, and it helps us going forward, helps us bring you better content and bigger names to the podcast, and we really appreciate your support. We recently passed 1,000 followers on Instagram, and I'd say big thank you for that. It's a huge milestone, opens up a few doors for us as well, and it's great that there's so many people that are tuning in and following us on there. But until then, I've been Jamie.